There are certain programming concepts that every person should be aware of. I'll teach you 3 right now. Let's get into it. The first concept we will discuss is web versus native apps. Web apps are ones that run on a web browser like Google Chrome. These apps are built using 3 languages: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Because they run on a web browser, they don't take up storage on the device that you're using. Native apps are apps that you download directly to your device. Each type of device has their own specific language. For iPhone apps, it's Swift or Objective-C. For Androids, it's Java. You probably have many native apps downloaded on your phone. For example, the dating app Tinder is a native app. Let's look at some of the pros and cons of each type of app. Web apps are great because they are less expensive to build and update, and any device with a web browser can run them. Web apps also tend to be slower than native apps. You also need to go to your web browser every time to use them, versus a native app where you can just immediately open up the app. Also, web apps usually don't use all the features that a native app could, like the camera, push notifications, or other things. Native apps can be good because they are fast and responsive, since they are built directly for the device that they're using, and they use a lot more features of the device. On the other hand, native apps are usually much more expensive to build, and you have to make a separate app for each kind of device. So if I wanted to make an app for an iPhone and an Android phone, I'd have to make the app twice in each language. Overall, each type of app has its own unique advantages. Web apps have continued to progress and become faster and more responsive. For example, Facebook and Instagram have their own web apps that perform extremely well on the phone. Our next concept is the idea of front-end versus back-end programming. You'll hear this term a lot if you're around programmers or entrepreneurs. The front end is everything you interact with. It's the text, pictures, menus, buttons, and all that stuff that you click on and see. Most of the front end of a website is built in HTML, CSS, and some JavaScript. The back end refers to the behind the scenes of a website. It's how data is stored and retrieved on a website. For example, when I log into a site, I put in my login credentials, which are then run through a database and authenticated. You don't see this process, but it's happening on the back end. The back end of websites can use a number of different languages like PHP, Ruby, or Python. The line between front end and back end isn't super clear. For example, JavaScript can be used both on the front end and back end. Sometimes you'll hear the term full stack developer, which means that the developer knows how to create both a front end and back end of a program. You'll hear the term API thrown around a lot. API stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's the set of resources and protocols that let computers talk to one another. I won't go into too much detail about how it works, but let's use a few examples to make this more clear. Have you ever gone to a sign-up page of a website and it said, "Sign up with Facebook"? The website is using Facebook's API to allow users to sign in. The API is what makes the signing in possible. Have you ever scheduled an appointment and it says, "Add to your Google Calendar"? You're using Google Calendar's API in order to make that happen. Anyways, that's it everyone. Hopefully you learned something today. I think it's important for everyone to understand these concepts at a basic level. And it's also really helpful if you're not very technical but need to communicate with a technical team. Thanks again, and as always, you can find me at my email address or on Twitter. I'd love to help you out in any way I can. Have a great day.